Good morning, friends. My name is Gardner, and welcome to my video. It is basically on how to draw cartoons. I will do a series of videos up on YouTube so that you all can see how I make my cartoons and pretty much how anyone can make a cartoon. Okay, the first thing we want to do is start with your basic circle. Actually, it doesn't have to be a circle. It can be any shape you like, but I'll show you how to do different shapes in a minute. We're going to start with a circle. And as you can see here, there's a circle that's basically the top of the skull. And that's going to be the center line, and that's going to be the eye line. And then I usually put a jaw on. Torso. There's another for Frankie, is just a little, what do you call it, like a little cylinder. It's connected to the skull. And then his legs are also cylinders connected to the torso cylinder. And then of course feet go for his arms. It's going to be a couple more cylinders with the ball joint at the top for the shoulder. And then it'll be a cylinder, but it's going to be covered with a sleeve, so no big. And then the hand is just a circle with fingers coming off. That's the hand. Okay, so there's kind of the basic structure of your character. You want to do all your characters this way. It's got to be structured like this. Otherwise it's going to look funny. You can draw a guy like so, but it's simplistic, but it's gonna look funny, it's gonna look, it just doesn't look as fleshed out, doesn't look as three-dimensional. It looks more two-dimensional. And of course a lot of people go for that two-dimensional look, but I prefer the three-dimensional feel to a cartoon. You're gonna do. Okay, now the nose usually starts at the point where the eye line and the center line meet. And my character's pretty much always meets there. It starts there, that's where the nose goes. And then you can do your eyes however you want. They go on this line here. In the case of the Mayfield Monsters, their eyes are big and they're connected. I believe the Smurfs were like that. On the Mayfield Monsters, they're connected. And then for Frankie's character, he's got another circle here, and that's where the top of his head is, because his head extends a little bit further up than most of the monsters. Because, as you can see, he is a Frankenstein character. So he has like a kind of a flat head on top. It is kind of curved, but it's supposed to represent like a flat head. And then of course his little smile goes off to the side with a little lip underneath. And then being a Frankenstein character, he's got stitches on his face. And then he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 points in the middle of his hairline. And then he's got ears that go right there, kind of start at where the jaw or the side of the cheek and the back of the head meet, and just kind of go around to the cheek. That's where his ear goes. Sometimes you see the other one. So we're going to use a regular fine point Sharpie pen to darken in. And you just basically go over the important lines. You don't want to mess with, obviously, the little circle up here. You don't want to mess with that. You just want to go over the outer lines, the lines that get outlined, that are going to show up in your cartoon. And it can be cleaned up, obviously, with whiteout, or in Photoshop I clean it up. Like right here, obviously it's kind of messed up. I clean that up in Photoshop. and that's when I do my coloring. And this is why I use a Sharpie, because when you go into Photoshop, you can take the little paintbrush, not paintbrush, the little paint can, and just basically fill in the color. You can pick green and just fill in his whole face with the little paint can tool. And with the black Sharpie lines, it'll basically just fill in everything around inside the black Sharpie line. So watch. So why you want, like, if you leave it unconnected like that and you try to fill the shirt in with brown, it's going to get all outside here with the brown color. So you want to make sure it's connected all the way. Make sure there's no white spaces between lines where you want your color. Otherwise it'll cause you problems. And as you can see, I'm pretty much almost done. The clothes are just the simplest part. And of course, I messed up right here, but we can fix that in Photoshop very easily. And he has patches on his clothes, one there, oops, I think it's the other way around. One on the other sleeve and one up on the side here, but we can reverse it if we want. We can pretty much fix all this in Photoshop. That's just to give you an idea of what his character is going to look like. And then of course, if I can, I'll blacken in the hair because it's easier than if you try to fill in black in Photoshop, because it'll leave little phantom lines in between the filled in color and the actual black outline, and I don't like that look, so I always darken in the hair by myself, unless it's giant massive hair and it's going to take me forever to blacken it in with a Sharpie. Then I'll fill it in with Photoshop and I'll just go around the little phantom line. I'll go around that with a black paintbrush in Photoshop and fill that in. There is Frankie from the Mayfield Monsters. We'll use a triangle for this character. This is going to be some random character, obviously, because I don't know if I have any characters with a triangular based skull, so that can be the center line. You can either put the eye line here. Woo! Okay, back to Bert here. Alright, so he has a triangular shaped head and a jaw there. There's his eye line. So we're going to put a nose on him. We'll just put a round nose. I see a couple of, actually on this guy I see some big glasses. And let's make them overlap. It's always funny when they overlap like that. They're going to overlap right here. And there's your side piece. And then he's going to have a body that just kind of comes straight down like this, no shoulders. A mouth right here. As you can see, it's very, very simplistic, but he'll have ears. And then his head will come up, and I'm going to round it off, obviously, because nobody has a straight point on top of their head. Well, some people might, but... And then his eyebrows will come off like so. And then some hair. So you can see how you can use pretty much any shape to make a character. I've just used a triangle as a basis of his head. And you can see how you can use an oval, you can use a square, any shape to make the character look different. But that is the difference in shapes.